Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Thomas Jefferson said, "If you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done." Benjamin Franklin said, "Without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning." Basically, get off your duff, get to working. You've got dreams, you've got goals. You've got to do what it takes to get them. Like, subscribe, comment, show what your opinion is. Let me know if you like what you've seen. And I thank you for your support. Howdy, folks. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. If you get a chance, down below is my link tree. It's got my Patreon. It's got my social media. Give me a buzz. Also share the video with your friends if you like the video. Now, that being said, we're going to discuss the fact that if we don't have a criminal justice system that is actually based around justice, this hurts both the idea of freedom in this country, and for those of us that are small government, it hurts what we want to see for this country. The criminal justice system in this country is busted on so many levels. And we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss why it is that this is hurting our country, both from a small government, freedom loving, and from a common sense standpoint. We're going to look at all those things. So, let's get into it. Now, to start off with, yes, police are part of the criminal justice system. I'm not going to cover them so much in this video. Later on down the road, I am probably going to cover them. But if you've seen my videos, you've seen where I highlight cops that have been busted and law enforcement on the federal, local, state level have been busted for various things, or where they have made arrests that are just weird. And our police in this country, our law enforcement in this country, on all levels, have issues. There are way too many to list in how short of a video that I want this to be. Now look, I'm from the county over from where the Battle of Athens happened. I actually lived in McMinn County, Tennessee, where Athens is. I understand that whole standpoint. I've talked to folks that were there. That's a whole different thing than what we have nowadays. It really is. But we have a police system that is being used as more revenue generation than they are criminal justice in a lot of places. We have police that think they can get away with anything they want because they're law enforcement. We have people getting arrested or harassed by cops who should not have this thing happening to them. Police are the start, which is why they're a major component in a lot of this, and we need to examine that. I'm not for defunding the police by any stretch of the imagination. No defunding the police. I think there are fixes that are needed, but right now, the criminal justice system goes far beyond that, and the police are one little area that needs its own video. We're going to talk about the court system and prosecutors and things like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about next. Now look, the first thing that should be stopping idiotic arrest, people being put into jail that should not be put into jail, those kinds of situations are the prosecutors. But they're not doing it because these folks think that no matter what, if they get people put in jail, they're being seen as doing their job. They don't care if the person's innocent of what they're being accused of. This is how they rise up to be elected into other positions, to become known. It helps them get judgeships on the state level, on the federal level. Yes, all of that matters. So they don't care if an innocent person gets arrested. Think about that for a second. Think about how many of these folks go on a law and order bent when it comes to what they're doing. They're seen as tough, then they get to rise up in the ranks. But that's the problem. They're rising up in the ranks on the backs of folks that are just not guilty of what they're being accused of, and they're being used to put this person's stat resume, making it padded, but they're innocent. I mean, look at how many times that you find these people have been innocent that have gone to jail. Or they go to jail with so many charges because the prosecutor goes, oh, well, we can charge them for this, this, and this. Seriously, we need to examine how our prosecutors are handled. Yes, it probably is a good thing that it's a political position, but at the same time, it's not a good thing. We need common sense put into place. We don't need prosecutors that are not making sure whether a person is guilty or innocent. Yes, part of that is evidence-based or whatnot, but how many people keep getting brought out of jail and being found to be innocent that are on with capital crimes? Now, they don't reinvestigate other felonies like that. So these folks are going to jail and not having their cases re-examined even though the evidence was crappy. I mean, you take a look at how many folks, like the other day, I did a gentleman in Oklahoma. He had witnesses saying that he was in Louisiana, but he was convicted of a crime that was committed at the same time he had proof that he was in Louisiana and Oklahoma. And that was a murder. Now take a look at what would happen if this is somebody else that's not on a capital crime. Then their trial, more than likely, is going to get them put in jail, and they have no way, because Innocence Project rarely, if ever, looks at any crime but those that are in for murder convictions. And I'm saying this because this is how these people are padding their resume, and they don't care. They don't care if the crime could be pled out. You know, somebody first time drug possession charge, you get some 20-year-old that has a baggie of marijuana. They don't care. This pads their resume. Never mind the fact that this kid could have had a better life, but he's going to go in prison. He's going to be caught up in this system, and this is what happens to them. So prosecutors need to be the first line. They don't need to be bleeding heart liberals, but they need to be common sense individuals. Okay, now let's look at judges. We have various things to consider on how judges handle things. One is the simple fact of that it's been found that a few judges, just a few, not a lot, but there could be more, have ties with some of these private prison companies. Yes, that's the case. They're sending people. One case in particular in Pennsylvania, this judge was sending youth into a private prison that they had, I think, financial standing with or something. You know, these judges aren't examined all that often. Not to mention they're being told, hey, we need to fill these prisons because if we don't fill these prisons, then you're going to accrue because you did these contracts wrong. You did these contracts wrong, and by the way, you're going to have to pay us money if you don't fill the jail to a certain percentage. And judges are told of this. So these judges are having to put these people into the jails. Oh, wow, these people could have had other ways of this, and instead they're going to jail because, well, the jail's got to be filled, or the prison's got to be filled. So judges, yeah, we need to be more careful on the judges, and then you take a look at what's being put on the federal level. The federal level is a mess. Nobody, but that's the judges. You've got to look at it on the judges. Now we're going to look at the prisons. So, on top of everything else, we've got prisons. Jails are one thing. We all understand jails. They're local. Jails are what's considered the local lockups. Yeah, you have weird things going on there, and they're local. But on the state and federal level, they're more prisons. You take a look at, if you listen to these folks on YouTube that have been in prison, they will talk about how there are gangs in charge of these prisons, usually done by your skin color and then broken down from there. There are multiple white gangs, there are multiple black gangs, multiple Hispanic gangs, there are Asian gangs. You get what I'm meaning here. This is what's running the prisons, because I was just watching a video recently where this guy was talking about the fact that there were multiple groups, but they each had their own correctional officer that they paid off and got to bring stuff in, that kind of thing. This is what's happening in prisons. Also, a lot of them are being ran by private corporations, and whenever they said there was no more slavery, they put in there unless the person is incarcerated. And these folks are in there being used as assets for manufacturing, for call centers, for any number of things. Okay, I understand paying off your debt to society. That I have no problems with at all. But what I have a problem with is the fact that these corporations are making so much money, and then they're telling the states, "Oh, you've got to keep sending people until we have a certain percentage in our prisons." So, they've got a mandatory workforce that a lot of times those folks should not be in there. Then throw in the fact that the COs are paid so little that they're able to be bribed. Now, I'm not saying that they necessarily need to be paid exorbitant amounts of money, but they don't need to be paid so little that they're getting easily bribed to bring in drugs, to bring in cell phones, to bring in all the things they're not supposed to have in that prison. So, these prisons are also being used as a way to turn these folks into better criminals. Let's start with, okay, say you're a first time offender. You're not connected to any group whatsoever. It doesn't matter what your skin color is, you're going to be told, unless you are part of certain groups, that you have to join a gang or you're going to become a victim in that prison. Think I'm joking with you. Go listen to these prisoners. There are prisoners that are all over YouTube that are telling stories about what goes on in these prisons. Now, once they join these gangs, that means they can't get their GED. If they were wanting to get their GED, they can't learn skills to help them outside and to get away from crime. And then they're learning how to be better criminals. So they went in thinking, "Oh, I can rehabilitate myself." No, you can't. If you want to stay safe in the jail, you have to join a gang. You have to become a member of a criminal organization, even if you had never been in one before. Unless you're some kind of certain categories or a celebrity criminal, then you're going to have to join one of these gangs. You're going to leave, and you're not going to have any more skills, and you just lost all that time. So that means that you have no skills. Nobody wants to hire you because you were in prison 90% of the time. So you're going to go back. "Oh yeah, I was told how to do this crime or while I was in prison. I was told how to do this crime." It's a self-perpetuating system. We need to fix that. We need to make sure that these folks are actually getting rehabilitated. I believe that we are putting people in jail for too long. Don't get me wrong, if you're doing violent crime, yes, you need to be put in a way to make sure that you are not going to be hurting your victims or being more violent. I'm not saying that, but there are other people. There are young folks getting sent up there that shouldn't be sent up there. They should be put into a program that they can rehabilitate. We need rehabilitation, not them going to a finishing school for criminals. This is making it look bad on us. And the rest of the world is seeing this. We're being laughed at by some of the worst countries in the world because our prison system and the amount of people we've got put into prison is laughable. These are just some of the reasons why the criminal justice system is not good for this country. These are things for you to think about. I don't want you going away from this talk thinking I'm a complete expert on it. I have done quite a bit of research, yes. I have read up on it. I have paid attention to what is out there. I'm wanting you to think about what I'm talking about. I want you to realize what your taxpayer dollars are going towards. I want you to start thinking about what can be done to make everything better. It is up to us. The government is not going to fix anything. Their idea of fixing things makes things worse. If you don't believe me, look through history. Every time the government goes to fix something, it just makes it worse. Now, the police, I'll talk about on another day. I've dropped things within my other videos. Okay, fine. Then there's the simple fact of that I have said certain things over the videos about the criminal justice system, but that's what it is. If you want a small government, you need a criminal justice system that is not injustice, that it's actually bringing justice to people. And we've got to examine this system every day. And I want you to think about that. This is not a liberal issue. It's not a conservative issue. It's not a middle of the road issue. It is an everybody issue. Because at some point, as I've covered in one video, there was a video where I covered that a young man was taken out by police because he was having a seizure and they thought he was resisting. So they automatically put him in the dirt and then lied to his family until the AP came along and realized, oh, it was the police that put him in the ground. This is a situation that we have right now, and we've got to fix it. We've got to stop this from getting worse, one, and then we've got to go back and take care of all the problems. And it's only going to be me, you, and your neighbor, and my neighbor, and everybody else in this nation that are fixing the problem before it is handled. Now, y'all think about all what I just said. Y'all talk about this down in the videos. Y'all have a good day now. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Bye. Folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.